continue our chapter 9. In this section is inverse matrix. The last lecture we're talking about 2 by 2 inverse matrix, which we have the formula. Now if you have 3 by 3 or above, we're not going to use formula. Let's look at the example. Use the inverse of the coefficient matrix to solve this 3 by 3. You have 3 variables, x, y, and z, and 3 equations. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put them in matrix. The first row is 1, 3. I don't have the c, so I put 0. Second row is 1, 1, negative 2. The third row is negative 3, negative 3, and 5. And my variable is x, y, and z. My constant is negative 10, negative 4, and 11. Now if you multiply this row to this column, you're going to get the first row here, and so on. So the idea is, if you remember from the last section, matrix A times the unknown matrix is equal to matrix B. And then we multiply both sides by A inverse, and then we can solve for the unknown. Now, the problem is we have to find the A inverse matrix. For 2 by 2, we have the formula. For 3 by 3 or above, we have to use the elementary row operation. So matrix A, you're going to put it on the left hand side, and matrix I, which is identity matrix, matrix A you put on the left, identity you put on the right. Then you're going to perform the elementary row operation. To get the identity matrix to the left, and whatever to the right will be your inverse matrix. Now I write some part of it in here just to save the time, and instead of go over a lot of calculation, we're just going to concentrate on strategy and the whole picture of it. So I put my matrix A on the left hand side. As you can see, this is my matrix A, and then identity matrix is to the right. Identity matrix, you have 1 at the diagonal, everywhere else 0. So you have to perform elementary row operation. At the very end, you want to have the identity matrix on the left, and whatever you have on the right will be the inverse matrix. So my goal is, first step, I would like to have 0. See, if you want to have this from here to here, so I want to have 0 here, here, and here. All right, so I'm thinking to get the 0 on this spot here, if I multiply the first row by negative 1 and add to the second, replace the second row by the result, I will have the 0 there. Normally you will do one operation at a time, but if you know that you do 2, I do 2 here because I don't have a lot of room. So I know that if I do 1 at a time or 2 at once, it doesn't change the result. So I would suggest that you do 1 at a time since you have room. All right, so I will get 0 here, and I'm not worried about the rest. Now I know that I want to get 0 here. To get 0 here, I have negative here. If I multiply the first one by 3, the first row by 3, I got 3, 3, and negative 3, I will get 0. And then I don't worry about the rest, and I'll take care of it later. So that's my thought and strategy. So let's do that, right? So I'm going to multiply the first row by negative 1, add to the second row, and the result go to the second row. So negative 1 and 1, I got 0. That's what I want. Negative 3 and 1, so I have negative 2. 0 and negative 2, I got negative 2. Let's put negative 2 here. And then you have to continue, all right? So negative 1 and 0, I get negative 1. 0, because negative 1 times 0 is 0. 0 and 1, I get 1. 0 and 0, I get 0. So that's what I want. 0 here. Everything else, I'll take care of it later, right? So for this one, I'm going to multiply negative 3 to the first row, add to the third row, result go to the negative 3 to the first row, add to the third row, the result go to the third row. I have to multiply by 3. Yeah. So 3 and negative 3 is 0. Yeah, that's what I want. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 3 is 6. Alright, so this is 0. So I end up with 5. 3 plus 0, I got 3. 0, 0, I got 0. 0 and 1, I get 1. Alright. Again, when you practice, I would recommend just do this one first and then this one. I know I do it 2 steps at once because I don't have room, and I know that it doesn't change the result on the second column. So I have 0 and 0 here. Next step I want to get 0 there, but before that I want to get 1. But we think different. We don't have to do the same, but I want to get 1 here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide everything by negative 2 and put on the second row, right? So everything else the same. The first row remain the same, the third row remain the same. The only row that changed is the second row, right? So divide everything by negative 2. So you're going to get 0, and then you're going to get 1 here, and then you're going to get 1 here, negative 1/2, 1/2, and 0. No, this one should be positive 1/2 and this one should be negative 1/2. Gotta be careful, right? Alright, I got my 0 here, my 0 here. I want to have 0 here. Actually, I try to get 0 here. Alright. So what I'm thinking is that if I multiply the second one by negative 3 and add to the first row, the result go to the first row, I will get 0 here. Right? So let's do that. I have to stay concentrated here. So negative 3 times row 2, that's 0. So you're going to have 1. Negative 3 and 3, I got 0. So negative 3 and 0, so I get negative 3. And then I have to continue. So this one going to be negative 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2, that's negative 1/2. This one is going to be 3 over 2, so, and this is 0, so it's 3 over 2, and this is 0. Alright? Now, this one, I'm thinking, I want to have 1 here. So, if I multiply the second equation by, actually, I want to have 0 here. Because, look, I want to have 0, 0, 0. Alright? So for me to have 0 there, I need to have negative 6 here. So I'm going to multiply the second one, the second row by negative 6, add to the third row. Alright? So this is going to be 0 and 0. This one going to be negative 6, and 6. I get 0. That's what I want. Negative 6 and 5. I should get negative 1. Alright? Times negative 6, yes. So negative 6, that is going to be negative 3. So I'm going to have 0. If I multiply by negative 6 here, so I will get negative 6. So I will get 3. And then 1. Alright. Next step I'm gonna do, I wanna get 1 here. Since I wanna get 1 here, I will multiply the third row with negative 1. So I will have 0, 0, 1, 0, negative 3, negative 1. Everything else remain the same. Now, I think you get an idea. So from now, what do I need? I need to have 0 here. So I multiply the third row by 3 and add to the first row, then I will get my 0 and everything else will fall. And I also want to have 0 here. So I multiply the first one by negative, no, the third one by negative 1. And then add to the second, then I get 0 here. Alright, so you can check the mathematics here. So let's go here. Now I end up with the identity matrix on the left hand side. So my right hand side have to be A inverse. So X is equal to A inverse times B. So this is my A inverse. I write it here. My B is the constant matrix. So you would multiply, this is 3 by 3, this is 3 by 1, so you can multiply them. And your answer should be 3 by 1. So let's look at the first one. You would multiply this row to this column. So you will have negative 1/2 times negative 10 plus negative 15 over 2 times negative 4 plus negative 3 times 11, and so on. And then if you simplify this, you're going to get 2. And you do the same, the second row with the first column, and so on. So if you solve this, you're going to have 2, negative 4, and 1. That is the solution. So X would be 2, Y would be negative 4, and C would be 1. Alright, let's look at more example. Hi, let's finish our chapter 9. The next method is called Maru. This method again we use to solve x, y, and z. Alright, so let's look at the determinant of 2 by 2. If you have 2 by 2, to find the determinant, you multiply A times D and then minus B times C. We will use that later on. Now, if you have 3 by 3 and we want to use the Maru, there is different position. The first position here, which is this one, is going to be plus, and then you keep alternate. Plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. So start from plus and then alternate throughout the matrix. Now the Maru said to find the x, you have to find the d first. Make sure d is not equal to 0. If d equal to 0, it's undefined. Then x is equal to dx divided by d, and y is equal to dy divided by d, and c equal to dc divided by d. So let's look at our first example here. I have a linear equation, 3 by 3. So I put in matrix again. The first row is 7, 1, 1, 7, 1, 1. The second row is 5, negative 2, 3, 4, 3, and C. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to find my D. Alright? You can pick any row. Alright? You can pick the first row, second, third, first column, second column, or third column. It's up to you. I choose to pick the first row. Let's do this. I'll pick the first row, which is this one. So I'm going to start from first is the first position, A11. I have 7 and it's plus. So I'm going to have 7. Alright. And then I'm going to cross. Alright. I'm going to cross 7 horizontally and vertically through the 7. So if I do that, I left with negative 2, 3, 3, negative 1. Alright, let's continue. Because I picked the first row, the next one I'm going to pick is 1. But 1 in this position, so it's minus. So So minus, and the number itself is 1. Then I'm gonna cross, this is kind of like a little bit messy, but I'm gonna cross to number 1. So if I cross to number 1, I'm go this way vertically and horizontally. What I have left is, I think it's 5, yes. 5, 3, 4, negative 1. Alright, so the next one is going to be this one, and the sign is plus. So I'm going to have plus 1, and then I'm going to cross to this number. So I'm going to cross to this one here. Alright, so I left with 5, negative 2, 4, and 3. Alright, so by doing this, I reduce this into 2 by 2. And I'm going to use the determinant of 2 by 2, AD minus BC. So let's do that. So I'm going to have 7 times negative 2 times negative 1 is 2, minus 3 times 3 is 9, minus 7, oh 1, sorry, 1. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, minus 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1, 15, minus 8, so it's plus 8. Alright, let's simplify this. So I'm going to have 7 times negative 7 minus 1 times negative 17 plus 1 times 23. Alright, so you multiply it out. So I think the answer is negative 9. So this is your D. And your D not equal to 0, so you can continue. If your D equal to 0, you must stop because it will be undefined. Now, dx, what happened is you're going to replace the first column or the x column by the constant and leave everything else the same. You will do the same thing. You can pick any row or any column and do the same thing. I choose to pick the third row. The reason because I see the 0 here is it make it easy for myself. So let's practice one more. So I pick the third row. Alright, so the first position is plus. So I'm gonna have 0. If you cross across 0, you're gonna left with 1, 1, negative 2, 3. Let's see if you cross here, cross here. Alright, the next one is 3. The position is negative, so you're going to have negative, and the number itself, which is 3. So you're going to cross here and here, right? So you're going to have 1, 4, 1, 3. The next one you're going to have plus, but we have negative 1 here. So negative 1. Let's cross this. So negative 1, you're going to cross here. So you're left with 1, 1, 4, negative 2. Alright, then I pick 0, as you can see. I don't care what that is. Times 0, I get 0. So here I'm going to have negative 3, 3 minus 4, minus 1, negative 2, minus 4. I'm using this again. Alright. This one I'm going to have negative 3 times negative 1, minus 1, times minus 6, which is 3 plus 6 which is 9. Alright, so my dx is 9. So to get my x is dx, which is 9. My dx, which is 9, divided by d is negative 9. So my x is negative 1. Alright, now I'm not going to do it again, but the same procedure. For dy, you will place 1, 4, 0 on the y column. Everything else remain the same. Pick any row or any column and do the same thing. You should get negative 7. So your y, alright, this is your x. So your y would be negative 27 divided by d, which is negative 9, which is 3. That would be your y. Now you see, you're going to put the constant on the C column. Do the same thing. You should get negative 45. So your C will be negative 45 divided by D, which is negative 9. So your C would be 5. So your solution is negative 1, 3, 5. Alright, we finished chapter 9.